we'll do that from the back.
That's a good thing. She doesn't really need to see herself.
All right. That's a better look than
All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's still morning, so good morning. My name is Claudia Valencia, and I am a Visiting International Teacher Program Coordinator at the Illinois State Board of Education. Let me just click on got it here so that it's not bugging us. I'll tell you a little bit about my role at ISB because it is quite unique. So I oversee the Visiting International Teacher Program at ISB, which means that we recruit and place international teachers in districts throughout Illinois. We have our longest partner, the Spanish Ministry of Education, or Embassy of Spain, where we work very closely with the Spanish government to recruit Spanish international teachers and have great partnerships locally here with districts in Illinois to place them here. And we've recently built new partnerships with an organization in Morocco and an organization in Mexico to help us recruit teachers there. We're very close also to signing a partnership or finalizing a partnership with the Democratic Republic of Congo to recruit teachers from there. And I'm hoping we can also sign an MOU with the government of Poland to recruit and place Polish teachers here in Illinois. So I'm the individual at ISB that oversees this program, and the reason why I'm giving this presentation today is because I used to be a part of the Educator Effectiveness Department at ISB, which oversees licensure, and then I made the switch to multilingual. So now the program, the Visiting International Teacher Program, VIT program for short, is housed in the multilingual department, which makes more sense. So I'll talk a little bit about licensure today and the pathways to a couple of licenses. I'm not an expert in licensure, so you may ask me some questions that I don't know the answers to, but I will definitely look into them if it's something that I don't know and get back to you on that, but I should have an answer for you for most. All right, so today we'll talk about a couple of things. We'll talk about the paraprofessional requirements, how to obtain a paraprofessional license. We'll talk about the different pathways to obtaining the professional educator license, or the PEL, and then I'll share some helpful resources with you. All right, so now we're going to review the paraprofessional requirements. So I'm assuming most of you know what a paraprofessional is, but in case you don't, it is an individual assistantly that sits in a classroom and assists the teacher, the main teacher, the teacher of record, works very closely with students, and it is actually quite easy to obtain the paraprofessional license and maybe something that you may be interested in obtaining. Now, be mindful that this presentation will be very information heavy because I'm going to touch on the specifics of each license, but if you have any questions, please stop me and I'll go through them. So in order to obtain a paraprofessional license, you have to be at least 19 years of age. And the reason for that is because students are in school up to the age of 18, so at least having someone that's a little bit older that can work very closely with the students, and then have one of the following. So an associate's degree or higher, 60 semesters of coursework or higher, a high school diploma or GED, and a score of 460 or higher on the ETS paraprofessional exam, and a high school diploma or GED and a score of a minimum of a 4 on the ACT work keys. And the ACT work keys covers two things really, the applied mathematics and workplace documents. Yes?
These are not for the international teachers.
No, there will be a slide a little bit later on international, on how international teachers can obtain a license. And I'm sorry, I forgot to say hello to our individuals joining us from Zoom. One of my colleagues will be checking the chat in Zoom, and she will let me know if we have any questions through the Zoom chat. Now, additionally, the paraprofessional license is valid for 5 years, and it is renewable, which means that you can use it beyond the 5 years. You will just have to apply to renew it. And it must be renewed every 5 years or it will change to an invalid status. Now, it could be easy to forget to do that, but please don't if you apply for this license, as then your license will not be valid. The paraprofessional must work under the direct supervision of a teacher, and the fee for the application is $100, and then there's a $5 registration fee for every year the license is valid, and you will pay that upfront after your license is issued. Now, there are some proposed changes to the rules that govern licensing that may make it easier for an individual to obtain a paraprofessional license. So the proposed rules would allow individuals to earn a short-term approval, and this is kind of giving you like a conditional approval while working to meet the full requirements to earn the paraprofessional license. So if you do not meet right now all of the requirements we talked about here, there may be an option for you to get this short-term approval that I'm talking about to allow you to teach or to work as a paraprofessional while you obtain the requirements to get the full license. So this is not something that's part of rule right now, but we anticipate this happening this summer. So the short-term approval provides an additional pathway to obtaining this license. And then the fee would be a $50. So that's what the anticipated fee will be. No registration will be required. And like I said, the purpose is that you use the short-term approval to work on obtaining the full requirements of the paraprofessional license so that you can get the full license once the short-term approval expires. So the short-term approval will be valid for 3 years. So during those 3 years, our hope is that you can obtain the requirements to get the full paraprofessional license. It's non-renewable, so at that time, you have to use those 3 years to meet the requirements. So once the approval expires, the educator would need to earn the full license. And then the educator should be working to earn the full requirements while working on the short-term approval, which I already mentioned. And now we're going to cover the professional educator license, or the PEL. So the PEL allows an educator to serve as a licensed teacher in an Illinois classroom. This is a license that most educators in Illinois will have. And it's technically a permanent license, and it's valid for 5 years. It must be renewed every 5 years, or the license will lapse, which means that it will no longer be valid. You will not be licensed to teach in Illinois. There is a fee for in-state applicants for the PEL of $100. Out-of-state applicants have to pay $150, and the license must also be registered. The registration fee is $10 per year the license is valid. And then in order to get the PEL, you must complete an approved educator preparation program. But we'll also talk about other methods of obtaining the professional educator license. So I want to cover a little bit, talk about teaching endorsements, as this is one of those things that could be a little confusing, and it's sometimes even confusing for ISB staff and administration. So when you get a professional educator license, you're not just able to teach in any area. You're given the opportunity to teach in the area that you focused on. And these are called endorsements. It means that they are allowing you to teach in a specific area. So we have the early childhood education endorsement, the elementary education endorsement, and then middle grades endorsements. So early childhood can be from birth to grade 2, and then early childhood special education is birth through grade 3. Notice how important it is, those grade ranges. You're only able to teach in those grades. Elementary education is grades 1 through 6, and then middle grades are 5 through 8 in these specific areas. So general science, language arts, mathematics, and social sciences. Once you get to middle grades and to high school, they're very specific with each subject, and you'll notice that in the next slide as well. So additionally, other endorsements are for senior high, 9 to 12, the Pell for CTE, 5 to 12, and then the special PK to 12. So again, these are areas that you can focus on and teach in. So for senior high, we have English language arts, math, safety and driver's education, science, and all of the areas in science, and those would be issued individually. So you may get an endorsement to teach senior high in biology. You will not get an endorsement to teach science generally. It will be specific to your area, or chemistry, or earth and space and science. And then social science. Again, those are issued as individual endorsements, so you may get an endorsement to teach senior high economics or geography. So please keep those in mind. It's very easy for us to just think generally and think, I'm gonna get an endorsement in science, but unfortunately that's not the way it works. It's very specific to your area. And then the same for the Pell CTE, and then the special PK to 12. In bilingual education, English as a second language, dance, drama, English as a new language, world language, and then gifted education specialists. And I'll talk a little bit more about these in the next few slides. And then additional endorsements. These are just additional endorsements that you can receive in special PK to 12. So these grade range, where it's PK to 12, it's for the grade range preschool through 12th grade. The Learning Behavior Specialist 1 is the special education endorsement. So that is the endorsement that an individual that's going to work in special ed would receive. And then additionally, the endorsements in deaf there's a misspelling there, hard of hearing, and then blind or visually impaired. Which one? The deaf or hard of hearing?
Age 22.
Yes, that's aged 22. Yes, yes. So it used to be 21, but it recently changed to 22. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
What do you need to renew? How does the renew works?
That's a great question. For the Pell specifically, I don't remember if this presentation would cover it, but it would be certain credits in professional development. And I can actually show you later on where you can find that information, okay? All right, so the first pathway to obtaining the Pell is completing an Illinois approved educator preparation program. So going through a program in Illinois that would give you, for example, a degree in education. You can find approved programs on our website, on that website. So please be sure that if this is the pathway that you want to follow, that it is an approved program by checking on our website. And then the applicant must meet all requirements outlined by the applicable program, including coursework, testing, student teaching, content test exam, and the EdTPA. Yes?
How long does it take, this preparation program?
Oh, Tammy, do you know, sorry, let me ask my colleague.
For a general Pell, general professional license, well, if you're doing a 4-year college degree, you would have 2 years of general education courses and 2 years of education courses. Or if someone already has a bachelor's degree, then they would do a master's degree for 2 years.
So I already have my master's degree, so do I need to do that?
No, and we'll talk about that. You'll likely fall into a different pathway for this one. Mm-hmm.
So everybody's a little bit unique
Yeah. And you'll probably fall into one of the other options. And then the applicant will be entitled for the Pell and applicable content area endorsements. This means that you'll work very closely with your program at the university where you're completing the program so that you get the appropriate license and then the endorsement through them. So you're not technically applying separately, you're working very closely through your program to get the license and then completing all of the requirements through them. So this is really looked at as like the traditional, if you go to, four-year college and then you pursue a program in education. Reciprocity. So this is anyone that completed an approved out-of-state educator preparation program, although this is not specific to international applicants. This is someone that's just completed it outside of the state of Illinois. So earn a valid and comparable out-of-state license. So for example, if you completed a program in the state of Wisconsin and you received a license that is comparable or similar to the professional educator license, then you would apply through reciprocity. You still have to meet all of the requirements, so you would have had to meet all of the requirements of the program that you completed in the other state that you were in, and then you would apply for the professional educator license in Illinois and pay a fee of $150. You'll have to provide proof of a valid and comparable out-of-state license, so you can upload a document that shows that you have your license in the state of California, in the state of Wisconsin, etc., and a minimum of a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution. So when our licensure evaluators are going through your application, that's what they will look for. And out-of-state licenses must be valid and comparable to the Illinois Pell. So other states may issue like conditional licenses or an emergency license. Unfortunately, those would not count. It would have to be comparable or similar to what the professional educator license would be in Illinois. And if you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to us and we can help you or our licensure team to figure that out.
Can I just ask, is this applies also to substitute teachers as well?
No, this is for, the substitute license is different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so the third pathway to obtaining the Pell is completing an approved out-of-state educator preparation program and completing the Form 8002. So meet all of the requirements of the out-of-state program, but do not become licensed in the state. So you do not become licensed if you completed a program in California, but you didn't get the license there. You would apply for the Pell in Illinois and pay the $150 fee. And the institution where you completed your program must fill out and submit the Form 8002. And it just verifies completion of the program, that you completed all testing, coursework, student teaching, etc. And then you'll just submit official transcripts with a minimum of a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution. So very similar to the previous example that I showed you, but just that you didn't obtain the license in the other state. Okay, and this is specific to out-of-country applicants. So you would have had to complete a minimum of a bachelor's degree from a comparable regionally accredited institution in the United States. You must provide evidence of completion of a comparable educator preparation program in a content area offered in Illinois, and then must submit credentials to an approved credentialing source to have an evaluation completed. So the way that an international applicant proves that they meet these requirements is by having their credentials reviewed by a foreign credential evaluating company. And that's how you prove to us that you completed the degree that essentially Illinois is asking for you to get this license. We have a list of foreign credential evaluating companies that we accept, and I can show you where that list, or I can share that list with you if you come talk to me afterwards. So you'll obtain the report from the foreign credential evaluating company, you'll submit that to ISB, and you'll receive a license in that way. Now, it gets a little complicated because other countries many times have alternative ways of giving licenses to teachers, right? The way that teachers maybe in Illinois or in the United States get licensed can be very different than the way individuals get licensed in other countries. Really, the easiest way that I look at it is that if you completed a bachelor's or a master's in education in a different country, you're likely to get the license here in Illinois. Now, you have to keep in mind that it is very specific in Illinois and the endorsements are very specific, so we'd have to take a look at what your equivalent credentials are to see what endorsements you'll get. So if you completed a bachelor's degree in education in elementary education, and that's what your foreign credential evaluation says, then you will likely get the elementary education endorsement to teach grades 1 through 6. If you completed a bachelor's in secondary education in math, then you will likely get a high school endorsement in math or a middle grades endorsement in math. It really depends on what's considered secondary education in your country. It just gets a little difficult when an individual completes a degree in education that's very general. So for example, say the foreign credential report says that you completed a degree in secondary education. Maybe in your country that allows you to teach any subject, but in Illinois, as we talked about, the endorsements are very specific, and that's where it can become a little bit of an issue. So it's easier if you studied something specific, so biology, math. What may also happen is if your evaluating report says that you completed a degree in secondary education, but most of your classes are in biology or are in chemistry, then our evaluators will give you that endorsement. So they'll not only look at what it says your degree was in, they'll look at the courses you took. So it's very important that you obtain a course-by-course evaluation because that's what our evaluators will look for.
Can I just ask one more?
Yeah.
So if your bachelor's or master's degree is in a different area than education, then you have to do like another master's degree or
You don't necessarily. So when I was in licensure at ISB, I think there were conversations about whether they would be willing to accept certificates, right? So your educator license from your country. At the time, and I don't know if they're accepting it now, but at the time they were not accepting it just because it's difficult to verify the validity of any license we receive, right? I could receive a license from any country, but who's telling me that that's actually valid and it's not something that somebody created?
My question is if it's not in education, if then you have to do another master's degree or?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to find another way of proving that you completed an educational program. Yes, so you can maybe follow one of the other pathways that I'm talking about. You don't necessarily have to go to your home country and complete another program, but you may be able to follow one of the other pathways.
And if here somebody who graduated here bachelor's degree, but it's not, for example, they took more arts,
Mm-hmm.
can they somehow be given credits or they have to do extra like master's degree?
They would have to have a degree in education. And really, that's what the licensure team is looking for. Yeah. I know in other countries you can study math and have a degree in mathematics and then teach, right? And it's that flexible. Unfortunately, Illinois looks for you having completed the education program. Mm-hmm. All right. So the fifth pathway to obtaining the Pell is an alternative program in which individuals with a bachelor's degree, that want to transition into teaching. So you must complete an approved educator preparation program and become licensed in one of the pathways mentioned in the previous slides. And then Illinois offers specific alternative programs. So you were asking about this. This may be one of the options for the individual that you're talking about. So you can look at our website to see what those alternative programs are. And then you will need to contact the specific institution to determine what the requirements are. And then there's also a short-term approval for content knowledge experts who want to transition to teaching. So like I said, there may be some individuals that majored in math or that majored in biology or chemistry and want to then, maybe they've been working in a different area, but think, well, maybe I want to be a teacher and I want to make the transition into teaching. This may be the pathway for them. So you must hold a bachelor's degree with a major or 32 semester hours in the content area sought, and then pass the applicable licensure content test. But you must have a district that's willing to hire you on the short-term approval and submit the Form 8388. So in this scenario, you will have to have spoken with the district already that says, you know, I'm willing to hire you on this short-term approval. I'll complete the Form 8388 in order for you to get the short-term approval to make this transition and then complete the requirements for the license.
When it says short term, what's that mean?
Yeah, so let me see if this one, short-term just means that they give you an amount of time for you to complete the full requirements to obtain the full license. Yeah, so the requirements, in this slide it explains it. So the requirements while working on the short-term approval, you'll complete an approved educator preparation program, complete and pass the EdTPA, the exam, and then have 1 year of experience on the approval, plus a proficient or higher evaluation rating will waive the student teaching, and then apply for or be entitled for the Pell. And like it said, the validity of this short-term approval is for 3 years. So during those 3 years is where you would complete these requirements. And it's non-renewable. So really, you're forced to complete all of the requirements during those 3 years. Yeah. All right, so these are just some resources that are available. I won't click on them, but on our website, you'll find anything from the paraprofessional requirements, the Pell teaching requirements, short-term approval requirements, and the directory of approved programs. You can always reach out to our licensure team to ask questions. And we have individuals, so I speak Spanish. Sometimes calls get routed to me. I have another colleague at ISB that speaks Spanish. And if you have questions in any other language, we could try our best to get the answers to you. So those are just a number of ways that you can obtain the paraprofessional license and the professional educator license, or the Pell. Does anyone have questions about anything that I discussed today? Yes? The professional development requirement? Online through your Ellis account, you will be able to upload that. Tammy, do you know if there's anything else that they need to do to submit their Pell? I don't believe so for
Definitely
PD.
your transcripts and the online application and the fee, those are the top 3.
No, for submitting professional development requirements for the Pell.
It's all online on Ellis. You actually put your hours on there.
My question is, beside this,
The online?
online, do we need to print a copy?
Not that I'm aware of, but I
I
don't
keep
know.
a binder of all my CPDUs.
Okay.
You can too. One of the things that I tell schools all the time is at your staff meetings, if you stop 5 minutes early, everybody can go onto Ellis, log their hours, and that way you have 120 hours ready and available when your license is up for renewal. But what happens is we as teachers, we all get busy, and you never put your hours in, and then all of a sudden 5 years have passed, and you need to find 120 hours. So anytime you do a professional development seminar, or go to something like this, or go to an IRC seminar, whatever you do, save it in a binder or a folder so that you can put all those hours into Ellis.
Do they need to provide proof
The
anywhere?
only proof is that paperwork from the professional development.
Another question, can we do an application before our license expires? Like we still have 1 year, 1 more year to expiration date.
Mhm.
Can we start this application if we
Application for the renewal?
renewal?
I believe there's a renewal button that shows up for you in Ellis. I'm not sure how early, I don't believe it shows up that early. So you really have to go into your Ellis account and check periodically to see when that button shows up for you to click it and then go through the renewal process.
The biggest thing, go to your district office, ask the human resources person, and they can walk you through the process about renewal. Because typically they'll send an email out saying your license is up for renewal, please apply through Ellis. If the person does not do that, you can also email them and say, my license is up for renewal in the next school year, what is the process? And they'll let you know from the school district perspective as well.
But really, mostly everything you'll do through Ellis. And Ellis is where you initially applied for the license.
After this, if you come over here, I'll show you.
Do we have any, oh, I think I see a question in the chat. Let me see.
No, it just says none at the moment.
Oh, okay. Do we have any other questions? Yes.
My case is very, very specific. I'd like a chance to talk to you.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I'll be here. We have plenty of time, so yeah, I'll be here to chat. Anything else? Yes.
Who fills out the form, the application form 83 and 88?
The dish, is it the one where, oh.
The district that is willing to hire.
The district that's willing to hire will complete that form, yeah, and then submit it when the application is being submitted through Ellis. I think the district will submit it directly to our licensure team. Mhm.
Can I ask about the substitute teacher?
Yeah, we can talk about that separately, and I can show you where you can find that information. All right, well, if nobody else has any questions, I'll hang around here. We have plenty of time, so I'll be here in case anybody has a specific question. Otherwise, you can always reach out to us directly or to licensure to ask questions, and we'd be more than happy to help you.
Will this presentation will be shared?
Yes, I haven't submitted it, but yes, it will be shared so that you can have access to it and review this information. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Where we can find this? Where we can find this?
I believe at the end, after this, there will be like a bank where all the presentations are available, so they should send you a link with where you can access these. Yeah.